On December 30th, 2025, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) arraigned a man who once stood at the very peak of Nigeria's legal authority, Abubakar Malami, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, former Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice. But this time, he did not appear as the government's chief law officers. He appeared as a defendant. Alongside him in the dock were his wife Hajia Bashir Asabe and his son Abubakar Abdulaziz Malami. And what is the allegation? Money laundering to the tune of 8.7 billion naira. This is not a political rally. This is not social media speculation. This is a formal criminal arraignment before the Federal High Court, Abuja, sitting in Maitama. What happened? What is alleged, and why was his bail refused? What does this case mean for Nigeria going forward? The proceedings took place before Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court, Maitama, Abuja. The EFCC brought 16 counts against the defendant. 16 counts, not one, not two, but 16 separate counts bordering on conspiracy, procuring, disguising, concealing, and laundering proceeds of unlawful activities, all under the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022. The total amount involved 8,713,923,759 naira 49 kobo. These are not loose figures. They are broken down into specific bank accounts, corporate entities, and transaction timelines spanning from 2022 to 2025. Let's pause and understand the weight of this moment. Abubakar Malami was not just any minister. He was Nigeria's Attorney General of the Federation, Nigeria's Minister of Justice, the chief legal advisor to the federal government, the man whose office decides who gets prosecuted and who doesn't. Now that same system is prosecuting him. That reversal alone makes this case historic. Let's simplify the legal language and tell you exactly what EFCC is alleging. Count 1 explained EFCC alleges that between July 2022 and June 2025, Malami and his son used a company called Metropolitan Auto Tech Limited to conceal over 1 billion in a Sterling bank account. The allegation is not just possession of money. The allegation is concealment of unlawful origin, meaning the prosecution claims the money did not come from legitimate sources and was deliberately disguised. In money laundering law, concealment is the crime. Count 5, the family angle. This is where things become more sensitive. EFCC alleges that Malami, his son, and his wife conspired to disguise over 1 billion using Union Bank accounts, a hospitality company, Maytak Hotels Limited, Jabi. The timeline spans between November 2022 to September 2024. The implication here is structured laundering, that is, spreading funds through corporate accounts to avoid detection. Count 6 talks about control of proceeds. Another major allegation is that Malami and his son indirectly controlled 1.36 billion, again through Maytak Hotels accounts. The key phrase here is when they reasonably ought to have known that the funds constituted proceeds of unlawful activities. In law, this removes the defense of ignorance. After pleading not guilty, the defense immediately sought oral bail. Senior advocate J.B. Daudu argued that the offenses are bailable. The law does not strictly require a written application. Oral bail is permissible under Nigerian law. He cited Abiola versus FRN, but prosecution strongly objected. EFCC counsel Ekele Iheanacho-San made a powerful point that this is a court of record. Submissions of counsels are not evidence. He warned that granting oral bail without affidavit evidence will ambush the prosecution. More importantly, he stressed public interest. This was not about hatred for Malami. This was about the scale of the alleged crime, the complex financial networks, the risks of interference, and the symbolic importance of equality before the law. Justice Emeka Nwite ruled calmly and firmly. He did not grant bail. He did not dismiss the case either. He did not favor any side. Instead, he ruled that the prosecution must be given time to respond properly. Bail application must be heard fully. Until then, the defendants would be remanded at Kuje Correctional Center. The next hearing date will be January 2nd, 2026. This decision sent a strong message that status does not override procedure. This is the summary of the charges labeled against Malami by EFCC. Count 1 to 4 accuse Malami and his son of using a corporate front to hide over 1 billion naira in a Sterling bank. According to EFCC, this money had no lawful origin. Counts 5 to 6 talks about family conspiracy allegation. This is where the case expands. EFCC alleges that Malami, his wife, and his son jointly conspired to disguise over 1 billion naira through hotel business accounts in Abuja. Count 7 to 9 talks about structuring an asset. These counts focused on how the money allegedly moved, broken into parts, spread across accounts, and then converted into assets to avoid raising red flags. Count 10 to 12 is about control and retention. EFCC says the defendants did not just move the money, they controlled it over several years, despite knowing it was allegedly proceeds of unlawful activities. Count 13 to 15 is summarized as deception and pattern of laundering. This count accuses the defendants of misleading banks, hiding beneficial ownership, and engaging in repeated laundering transactions, not a one-off incident. Count 16 ties everything together, alleging a coordinated conspiracy to launder over 8.7 billion naira, making this one of the most serious post-office corruption cases in recent years. This case is important to Nigerians and the general public not because of one man. It raises deeper national questions. Can Nigeria prosecute its most powerful former officials? Is the anti-corruption fight finally crossing political boundaries? Will this case be pursued to logical conclusion or quietly fade away? For decades, Nigerians have complained that big men are untouchable, justice is selective, and the anti-corruption is weaponized. This case is now a litmus test. At this point, let us be clear about something, that Abubakar Malami is presumed innocent under the law. An allegation is not a conviction, but arraignment is not persecution either. It is due process. And for the first time in a long time, Nigerians are watching a case where power, privileges, and pedigree are being tested in open courts. January 2nd, 2026 will be very crucial, and Impact Media will follow every step. What do you think? Is this a turning point for Nigeria's justice system, or just another high-profile case that will quietly disappear? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like the video, subscribe for deeper political and legal analysis. This is Impact Media, where power meets accountability. See you again in the next video. Thank you.